All right, here we are, another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Good morning, Peter.
Hello, Bill. Hello, everybody.
Here we are, episode number 427.
Yipes.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
The title of today's podcast is The Scariest Secrets You Need to Know Today About Creative Real Estate Deals. And here is the description. In this bone-chilling episode of Creative Real Estate Nightmares, we will dive into the darkest underbelly on how most creative real estate entrepreneurs screw things up when trying to profit on deals. But I am warning you, prepare to have your innermost beliefs and perceptions shattered as we unveil these simple, violated truths that can lurk beneath the surface of what most consider acceptable. On today's journey, we will unleash the scariest mistakes almost everyone makes and have no clue they're doing it, but are always left at the altar standing alone. We will also shed light onto often overlooked aspects of property inspections, doing comparables for selling worth, plus the number one reason about 98% of all folks trying to profit from real estate fail. In fact, when you hear it, you may slap your cheek for not knowing this simplicity that has been holding you back for so long. Don't miss the defense tools you will get in today's podcast while battling the unknown. How's that for dramatic?
That's good. You know, I am a person that does not like the unknown. I'm about a few percentages braver lately, and with my age and all that. But the unknown, I don't think many people. You're really good at it. You're kind of fearless because you have to have confidence in yourself that if something comes up, you'll figure out a way. You don't have to know a way. You know that you can probably find one, but that's a little scary.
Why trust my necessity level to solve all problems?
Yeah, but you come up with something eventually. And, everybody can. The question is, will it be a good solution? And you have some very wise advice on that, and I'll leave it at that.
Good. Thank you. So let's just do our housekeeping, which is going to be very simple and easy. As I have announced for the last several podcasts, this free podcast, will soon come to an end. I have not released when. It will be a date that you'll hear about as soon as I get the other platform up and running. But we actually have an app that we're going to be using, and we're going to send you to our app, and we're going to put the podcast on that app, and it's called the Private Podcast, mostly because I want the ability to communicate with you. I want you to be able to ask questions, text back and forth while we're doing the podcast, and it's just got a lot more benefits. Not to mention, it's going to be more profound because it's a private podcast. I know that some people will not come over. They'll want to stay on their own platforms, and quite frankly, they will miss out because the podcast, if you think we give a lot of information for the last 426 episodes, where do you get into private podcast? It's actually going to be, I have a lot of plans for it. One of which is what I call an audio newsletter, where for a couple bucks a month, $8 or $9 a month, I'm going to send you an audio recording that's actually an audio newsletter once a week talking about creative real estate. So it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be fun.
Cool.
In the meantime, we record 9:30 a.m. Saturday mornings, 9:30 a.m. on Thursday mornings. Even that's getting a little bit strange because we are doing some pre-recordings because I'm getting ready to go away for a month. And we're doing some pre-recordings, but the recording will be up Sometimes if you send in a question while we're on it, we may not answer it because we're winding down this podcast. But you can reach us at flippinghousesforrookies.com on support, or you can go to creativereireply.com on support if you need anything at all. And we are there to answer your questions. Make sure you subscribe to us. Make sure you like us. Make sure you leave us a review. And here we go. Are you ready? On your marks, get set, go.
Go.
Getting right down to business. Right down to business.
Go.
The only reason anyone does not make chunks of dough in real estate. I've got it to one reason and only one reason. After 30 plus years, I figured out what that one reason is. Only one reason you're not making money in real estate.
Yes. And it is.
You have not found enough buyers. Or, I'll give it again. You have not enough would-be buyers. And too many won't be buyers. Or you don't have any houses to present your buyers who are going to pay you.
I like the last one. Makes the most sense to me. Isn't there always somebody who'll buy a damn house?
So are you struggling with not having motivated sellers and buyers contacting you about property so you can do a deal and make some profit quickly? Do you have people talking to you about a property every day? Are you also struggling with no one, or very few know you are even in the real estate business? And do not have folks spreading the word about you so you get more deals by word of mouth or referrals or the potential to expand because the world knows who you are? I mean, I've often preached on this podcast, like, walk out your front door of your office. Walk to the left, walk to the right, your decision. And walk until you can find a person, a human being, and say, hey, you know anybody around here that could buy my house? And if you're 3 blocks from your front door, or a half a mile, and if they don't know, how's everybody else going to know?
Yep.
How about this? Are you struggling with absolutely, positively, definitely no opportunities or potential of collecting a real estate profit check or a chunk of dough today, this week, or this month? In other words, nothing in your pipeline to pay you. I'm sorry for coughing, but that's what happens when I shout early in the morning, right? Perhaps you have never built a buyer's list with buyers having your money in their pocket, so you can brag to your sellers about these buyers that have their money in their pocket. I remember listening to Dan Kenny a long time ago, and he related his buyer's list as cattle, and how he would put them in like how cattle are inside of a corral. He didn't probably say it that way. I'm saying it, but like, you know how cattle have like a fence around them?
Yeah.
And all the cattle in there.
Yeah.
And when it's time for you to like get a beef cattle out of there and have, and get some food, you just kind of go there and it's right there, right? I mean, it's a gross analogy, but it's a perfect picture, right? So do you have your buyers in a corral, AKA an email list or a text list, where you can say, hey, you're not going to believe this. I just looked at this unbelievable house, and you're on my very important list, VIP list, and I'm going to show it to you before I advertise it. You need to go out there and look at it in the next 2 days.
Wow.
Right? Oh, by the way, just in case you're curious, For those of you that want to daunt me and pick at me because I pick on the realtor system, think of this. How many realtors do that? How many realtors actually make a buyer's list? They have open houses and they have all these things where they talk to buyers all the time. But no, the realtor system is designed to go get MLS listings, to go get listings. The books are written on go get the seller's listing and put it on the MLS, and someday you'll cash out. They don't collect buyers. They don't realize that the buyers are the ones that are paying them. They think buyers are annoying because they got to drive them all over creation to show them a house. And don't even realize that what's in the car with them is their paycheck. And they don't do it.
Sure, we've asked. We've checked around. They do not keep buyers lists. They don't keep, a list of clients, buyers, customers.
Exactly. This is a big one, Peter. Do you struggle with some sort of other income having to pay for your real estate business? Because your real estate business does not pay for itself. Never mind giving you chunks of dough. You got to have another job or another source of income or a savings account to supply your real estate business so you could train yourself and learn. What kind of bullshit is that?
That's the kind of bullshit that wives really don't like, right?
Exactly. Lastly, do you struggle with spending countless amounts of time studying real estate without ever getting results? Or worse, never getting paid. Never getting paid. Never mind consistent income for your efforts. Is that you? When I survey my people, I am blown away by how many, especially boomers, are studying real estate for 10 years, decades, sometimes 20 years, and having never done the deal. But they come home and watch the videos, and they buy the courses, and they're going to do it. They rev themselves up, and nothing happens. My job as a coach, and my job as a software person, and my job as a podcast host, or whatever you want to call me, is to transform your life as quick as possible, is to get you to get a seller to give you a deal so you can present it to your buyer. That's my job. My job is not to get you a check. You'll do that on your own if I can show you how to present real estate to buyers that can make you offers. The transformation is getting those properties to show your buyers. It's my job.
That's crazy to think that people, I know what you mean. I've talked to some of them, not as much as you have. It's crazy to think they'd be sitting in the middle of this and not doing a few things that would just get you somebody throwing a house at you. It's just getting the next step, like, oh, wow, there's a house. Now what do I do? I mean, just by accident, if you just went outside the door or made a phone call, it's just hard for me to imagine that.
Peter, here's my question. If something is not commonly known by 98% of America, can we agree it's a secret?
Sure.
And can we also agree if it takes one idea? Can we agree that one idea can change your life? Especially if 90% of America doesn't know it. 98% of America doesn't know it. Yeah. Is it possible that one idea, one bright idea, could change your life and enhance it? Like, not only change your life, but we pour like jet fuel onto it if 98% of America doesn't know it. Is that possible?
Absolutely, certainly. If the numbers are in our favor.
By the way, this one idea will not only change your life, It's guaranteed. Provided you're in the right frame of mind to understand it and do it. And the sad thing is, after having millions of downloads on a podcast, after selling hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of courses, after coaching hundreds of people, doing hundreds of transactions, and being at this for 30 plus years, sadly enough, most people are not in the right frame of mind.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the right frame of mind? The right frame of mind is believing in yourself enough to shed off all the noise in your surroundings. I talked to somebody the other day that told me they couldn't be on a call with me, or they have to back off on real estate because they got to potty train their daughter.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh boy.
Seriously.
Oh.
People think with too many ones. You can't think with ones. Dan Kennedy says one is the most dangerous thing in your business. One deal is the most dangerous thing in your business.
Why?
One deal, because one is a scarcity. You need 4 or 5 or 10. One is the most dangerous thing in your life. Having only one is the most important thing, is the most dangerous thing. Now, obviously, you can have one spouse, and that's all you should have. But that one spouse will turn into a family, so only one is not good for a family.
Yeah.
Right? I have a daughter who doesn't want to get married, doesn't want to have kids. I could tell you my first wife, I dropped to my knees and I prayed to her sometimes. Because if it wasn't for her, I would not have 2 children, and I wouldn't have 3 grandchildren, and my life would not be the way it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to have kids, and she talked me into it.
Oh,
I tell her all the time, Robin, that's the best thing you ever
Wow.
did for me. You changed my life. That one idea, that one concept changed my life, changed my history forever.
Yep.
That one idea. But that's because I believed in it, and I went for it. And I was in the right frame of mind to make that decision. The funny thing, Peter, is we're in an age where most people are drowning in information.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But they're starving for wisdom. And are so distracted that more people die today from cell phones and driving than drunk driving. Think about that for a minute.
That's gross. I've heard that recently. That's gross.
So today's secret revealed, and one of the ideas you should consider, is this. Buyers pay you to make you rich, not sellers. Buyers pay you to become rich, not sellers. This is one of the obvious secrets in creative real estate that even I missed for 30 plus years. Not that I'm better than you or anything like that. It's just that I do it every day and I still missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Everyone, and I mean everyone, spends all their time and money and efforts studying and hunting sellers when the sellers don't pay them. Thus, why they don't get paid in real estate. Thus, why they go through all these things that we're talking about, all the training for decades and don't get paid. Thus, why they need to have other income to pay for their real estate. Thus, the reason why they don't have motivated sellers and buyers calling them. And the reason why they just keep going, right?
Yeah.
They don't have a business because they're not spreading the word. Your business absolutely, positively revolves around the presentation of a property for sale so the buyer can stumble upon it and say, I'll give you.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to a very dear friend of mine, last night.
Yeah.
Stephen from Durham.
Oh, yes, yes.
My friend Stephen.
I texted his wife, Carolyn, the other day.
Nice.
Yeah. So, yes.
And I talked to him for great length because I haven't talked to him in a while. And I was pleasantly surprised. He's an engineer and he's kind of dry sometimes. Mm-hmm. And he told me a story about me.
Wow.
He told me he remembers when I first got divorced and I moved out and I didn't take anything from my ex-wife. I left everything there except for my clothes. Mm. And he tells me the story about how I decided that I need to furnish my apartment. So what I was going to do is I was going to go out and I don't remember how I did it, but go to estate sales and start buying lots of furniture.
Huh.
And the reason why I did this is because around the corner from my house, there was a consignment store that was just starting. It was somebody that I went in there and I met them and they were just starting and they needed inventory. Mm-hmm. So what I did is I went out and I started buying all this furniture from garage sales, and I was all over the place. And I'd buy lots of furniture, and I had a pickup truck, and I would go pick it up, and I would take what I wanted out of it and put it in my apartment, and I would give the rest to the consignment shop. And he was impressed by this. So he now tells me all these years later, 25, maybe 30 years later, he said, I took a leaf from your pamphlet, Bill. His son is an engineer, or becoming an engineer, and they like sound. He's a massive, excellent, beautiful a musician. Mm-hmm. So he taught him the difference between a sound wave, a digital and a analog sound wave. Mm-hmm. And the kid took it to the nth degree, and he became very good at sound equipment. So now he's out for fun buying equipment, doing exactly what I was doing with furniture.
He's doing it with the sound equipment.
Making thousands of dollars.
No kidding. Good for him.
Thousands of dollars. He gets speakers that are worth $2,000. He pays $200 because they're broken and somebody wants them out of the basement. Right? All kinds of stuff. He's telling me story after story.
Clever.
This is how you should approach real estate. You should approach real estate like I need to get property that I don't need to be stuck to, that I could get either for free or a few $100s so I could go make $10,000.
Wow.
Just like I did with the furniture my friend did with the sound equipment, right?
Nice segue, Mr. Hawthorne. That's really good, honestly. Yeah. That's for real.
Thank you. Probably the most horrifying disease in creative real estate, like the pandemic type of a disease, and that wasn't a disease, that was a virus, is 99% of all real estate people fall or fail. All real estate, I'm going to do it again. 99% of all real estate people fail because they have no inventory to show their buyers, which is where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
And can't make chunks of dough without inventory. By the way, inventory means unsold property being marketed so buyers can find them and pay us our profits. Mm-hmm. Inventory means unsold properties. Did I say single family houses?
No, properties.
I said properties. Unsold properties being marketed so buyers can find them and pay us our profit. And everything else that needs to be paid in the deal. Mm-hmm. Now here's an interesting thing, which is what got me onto this. Without inventory, aka my coaching clients, aka you, aka me at times.
Sometimes you're absent, right?
Yep.
Sometimes, yeah.
You have no business. You have absolutely no business without inventory. And it's actually an expensive hobby.
Sure. That's for sure.
So no inventory has the symptoms of, as if it was the disease, and these are the symptoms. No inventory being the disease, and these are the symptoms. No buyers asking, how much do you want me to pay you? You will know, or you won't know what buyers want to pay. You want to do comps? There's where you do your comps. You get a piece of property, and I'm going to tell you how to in a minute. You get a piece of property, you present it to them, and they say, that house is now worth $230,000. It's only worth $210,000. What better comp than that? No one will know what you do for money, and they won't want to give you any. Basically, your business will be invisible. If you've ever tried to do SEO, search engine optimization, everybody wants to be on the first page, right? Why do they want to be on the first page of Google? You type in there, Google ice skates, and pages show up. There's 1,300,000 pages for ice skates, but only the top 10 show up on Google. And if you're not on the top 10, you're invisible.
Yeah.
How do you become the top 10 if you don't have inventory? Who knows you're even doing this? Yeah. One of the things we used to tell our sellers is, oh, we'll have a private conversation, keep it confidential. Right? So if you have a confidential private conversation, how are you going to go off and tell everybody else that conversation that you just had? But if you have a house for sale, it's not confidential, it's public knowledge, right? It's everywhere, and you want the most amount of people in the world to go look at it and see it and what you're doing. There are no opportunities for chunks of dough. There's no pipeline. There's no, oh, I think I can make 10 grand this week because I got like 5 people that are ready to buy that house. Let's see which one pulls the trigger. So you want to know why you have a scarcity mentality? Because your pipeline is empty. There's no opportunities for you to make dough, especially a chunk of dough. You have no buyer's list just waiting for you to send them. We call it a VIP list, very important person. You don't have a VIP list from people that have looked at houses. You say to them, you want to be on my VIP list? Well, what's a VIP list? Well, here's what we do. When we acquire a new property, which we do often, we email or text our VIP list before we put it on the market. So you get an opportunity to see a house that nobody else knows we're selling. And you get the first shot at it. So you're not in competition with the market.
Yep.
How many people have that? And oh yeah, when you're talking to your seller and you say, oh, son of a gun, I've got 86 people that I can email or text today about your house that are pre-qualified buyers. Right? One of the best sentences you could say when you're talking to a seller is, especially it's a cold call, is, yeah, my partner and I just sold a house and we have leftover buyers. Would you be interested in selling your house? The leftover buyers is your buyer list. Right?
Of course. Hey, what makes them pre-qualified?
They reached out and said they wanted to buy a house.
Oh, that kind. Okay. Yeah, because it's the kind like they have loans and all that stuff. But this is, they want to buy a house.
We don't do loans. So if you've got 85 people, which I'm telling you, 85 people is kind of a gross number. If you sell a couple houses, you'll have hundreds.
Yeah.
Especially if you use Creative REI Replay, because we automatically do it all for you. If you sell a couple houses, you should have at least 150 people looking, or 200 people looking at your ads. You should have 20 or 30 people going through the house so you can get 1 to 5 offers. All automated, 90% automated anyways. All you do is spend 15 minutes putting it on the software and it does the rest for you. Right? So if you don't have inventory, your current income is going to have to pay for your real estate. It's going to have to pay for PropStream. It's going to have to pay for Creative REI Replay. Here's the thing. I get people that complain about how we sell creative REI Reply, which we don't sell it anymore. We give it away for free. We're no longer selling creative REI Reply. We give it to you for free if you buy leads from us. If you buy 500 leads at $1.99 a piece, which is $997, we give you the software for 3 months to go work those leads. And oh yeah, by the way, we work them for you. We answer their texts. We make appointments for you. We show you how to do we do all the paperwork for you. We do everything for you. We sell it for you. We do everything for you on automation. You're paying for the lead. And oh yeah, by the way, if you want to buy more than 500 leads, you can get leads down to as much as 79 cents a lead now. And when you buy those leads, we do all the work for you. We let you use the software for free. We text for you. We answer the texts for you from the sellers. We try to make appointments, although you should do more of that. I mean, you shouldn't rely on the robots to do that. You should do more of that yourself, which is misunderstood for a lot of people, because the people that are crushing it are doing those appointments. We do all the heavy lifting for you. Where are you going to go and get that? You're not going to.
That's right.
Now you can get as many leads as you want. Now you get as many deals as you want. But my point is people will wonder, oh, I can't pay $997. Well, let me ask you this question. If you paid $997 for a 3-month usage and got 500 leads, first of all, do you think that you could find one deal out of 500 leads? I would think so if you at least try. And do you think that one deal could make you $5,000 even if you just flipped it, wholesaled it, did a lease option or a slot deal and made $5,000? Where are you going to go for $1,000, $997, and within 90 days turn it into $5,000? That's 5x on your return. Where are you going to do that? In the stock market? You're going to put $5,000 in the stock market and 90 days later get $25,000 back?
I don't think so.
And the last thing that you're going to have a problem with when you have no inventory, and it's the biggest disaster and the scariest thing in the world to me, is you will study and study and study thinking that knowledge is power. And yes, knowledge is important, especially when you need that one idea. But once you have that idea, it becomes knowledge isn't power. It's who you know. It's who you know. How many times have you heard that? Who you know is how you make money. Well, if you know the right buyer and you know the right seller, you make money. It's who you know. We don't even need knowledge anymore. I'm going to go over that in a few minutes. Like, how do you get properties for nothing so you can present them to your buyer for a price? What business model can you do that? I'd like to have you call up China and say, hey, China, send me 2,000 widgets for nothing so I can sell them on Amazon.
Yep.
And the most frightening of all is 99% of all real estate investors do not know this insider secret. I keep talking about one idea can change your life, right? And I keep every podcast dropping these one ideas. So one of them, just one of them, will stick in your head and you'll actually act on it because I resonated with you. Here's the insider secret. How to get sellers to give you property on consignment. So you have free inventory to show buyers who want to pay you the profit in the deal. By the way, consignment is when a person sends his or her merchandise or possessions to someone else so that other person can sell it for them. And often the person selling the merchandise or the possession gets a portion of the sales price for finding the buyer and doing the transaction.
That's right.
Isn't that what realtors do? I'm going to do that again because it needs to sink in. Am I doing okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you're not saying
Oh, yeah.
much.
No, honestly, I listen to you and I realize that listeners are listening. I want them to think about what you said.
Yeah.
I'd rather not yap away sometimes because what you said is plenty.
Good, thank
But
you.
seriously, you have to, and you pause so we can think about what you're saying and just think about an example of that, of how it actually works. Duh.
How to get sellers to give you property on consignment. This is the insider secret. How to get sellers to give you property on consignment so you have free inventory to show buyers who want to pay you the profit in the deal. They want to pay you. Consignment is when a person sends his or her merchandise or possessions to someone else so that other person can see it for them or sell it for them. And often the person selling the merchandise or possession gets a portion of the selling price for finding the buyer and doing the transaction. Isn't that what realtors do? Let's reveal this petrifying, spine-chilling concept so you can see why you have been held down from real estate freedom. If a seller decides they want to go to the realtor system.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I bash the realtor system, not realtors. Realtors are good people.
Yeah.
But the system is broken. If it wasn't broken, then why would they be sued by 250,000 homeowners in Louisiana for $1.8 billion and settle for $418 million?
Yeah, one state.
One state, 250,000 buyers. There are more than 250,000 houses sold in this country. I think a month.
Yeah,
Here's how it works.
I'm seeing a whole very big load of posting on Facebook for realtors on what to do and what to say and download this and download that. What are we going to do now? And what do you say? And how do you get your commission for the buyers? And I'm not a realtor. I'm just saying that all over the place on my own feed.
Yep.
It's a problem for them.
So if a seller goes to a realtor system, here's what happens. The seller signs a 6-month listing agreement with them, and often it's longer than that because they have clauses about what you can do and not do after the 6 months. But the seller signs a 6-month consignment agreement. It's a consignment agreement. They call it a listing agreement. It's a consignment agreement. Let's go back. What is the definition of consignment? Consignment is when a person sends his or her merchandise or possessions to someone else so that that person can sell it for them. The listing agreement is a consignment agreement.
Mm-hmm.
The realtor then posts the property on the MLS, their multiple listing service, which used to be their biggest tool since the 90s when they came about on the internet. But now lately, there's so many other tools. The damn fools shot themselves in the foot because they started advertising on Realtor.com and Zillow and Redfin that now the MLS is not important anymore because you can go to about a dozen different websites. We go to unveil.co and it puts it on 19 websites for us. Why do we need the MLS? Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. The realtor puts the property on the MLS, right? A buyer finds it either by a sign or by the online listing and inquires about the property. I like that house. I want to go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Buyer goes and looks at the house, often finds faults or what's wrong with the house, and decides what to pay.
Mm-hmm.
They adjust the price based on the faults. Right? They're not going to tell you, oh, this is a beautiful house and I'll pay extra money. That only happened in the pandemic. That doesn't happen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The realtor gets a written offer from the buyer, right? Called a purchase and sales agreement, a PSA, right?
Yep.
Then, which by the way, is that your comp?
That's a real comp because that's what he's willing to pay That's the bottom line.
Right.
Not asking price or my neighbor's asking.
Or what the average is on the houses that sold in the neighborhood over the last 3 months. No, this is a real comp.
That's a real comp. It's got to be more than a comp.
It's a real comp. Comparable. We're talking about comparable prices. Like what's the house worth? So then the realtor takes this purchase and sales agreement or this offer and returns to the seller with the offer. And the seller says yes, no, or adjusts the offer.
Mhm.
So once both the buyer and the seller agree, the paperwork is drafted and signed. Here we go. We got a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the deal is now generated to close. The closing happens, and the realtor makes 5 to 6% for doing this. So on a $400,000 house, they just make 20 grand.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's look at this blood curdling, nerve-wracking, obvious truth that 99% of all of us don't ever look at, and we overlook it.
What is that?
I call this datum of comparable magnitude. In other words, they have the same amount of power. So now that we heard what a realtor does, let's talk about what we could do.
Mm-hmm.
If we did this same deal, if we did like the realtor and gave the seller their asking price, could we do more deals? If we didn't have to negotiate?
Instead of arguing with them and not doing it because we don't think it works with our numbers or whatever the hell, they don't do any negotiating.
Exactly.
They don't say, well, I don't think. They don't, wait a minute. Check this out. When the seller goes, I wish I could get 400,000. They don't say, gee, I don't want to sell for more than 380, really. They say, oh, I might get you 410. They never go down. They go up, if anything.
And then in a month from now, they say, well, there's no buyers. Let's drop it 10 grand.
And it's not his fault.
This is no different than bringing your kid's bicycle to a consignment shop and say, I'd like to get $50. Well, let's see what happens. I think it's really only worth 35.
Mm-hmm.
And they put it on the shelf, and then a month later, the guy comes in. Nobody's looked at it. Okay, drop it down to 40.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Until it sells. Because everything sells for the right number. Even dysfunctional houses sell for the right number.
Yeah.
Right? All right, so let's keep going. So if we could give the seller what they're asking, we'd get more deals. Right? Then, instead of signing a listing agreement, we sign an option agreement. Instead of it being for 6 months, we sign it for 3 months. Because if we can't do it in 3 months, we aren't going to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We post it on all these websites I'm talking about. Facebook, Zillow, avail.co.
Mm-hmm.
And we get all the buyers that the realtor could get on the MLS because this is how the MLS is getting these buyers from the same places. It's no longer a restriction for us. We don't have to put it on the MLS and pay $300 for an MLS listing because we don't need that anymore. The buyer finds the property and he inquires or she inquires. In other words, they ask about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The buyer goes and looks at the house, finds all the faults, does all the due diligence. Oh, yeah, by the way, tells you about the neighborhood, tells you about everything you need to know, because if you talk to enough buyers, you'll know everything about that house in that area. Mostly what they want to pay. So do you need to guess how much the house is worth? Didn't you just get a comp?
Yeah.
The seller's telling you what they want to pay. You write an offer. You write a purchase and sales agreement. You send it to the seller. Right? You return the seller with an offer. You return to the seller with an offer.
Mm-hmm.
Seller says yes, no, or adjusts the offer. Once both the buyer and seller agree, you prepare for a closing. And when the deal closes, you make 5% or 10%. So you say to the seller, you got $400,000. I can sell this house for you if you give me a 5% discount. What do you mean? Well, you pay the realtor 5%. Well, yeah, I wasn't thinking about using a realtor. I'm trying to save it. How's that going for you? Do you know where to market it? Do you have a buyer's list? Do you have all the things that we have? Do you have experience? Are you going to be able to walk through this deal by yourself? And oh yeah, by the way, the 5% that I'm talking about, you're going to pay more than that for closing costs because you're going to have, you're going to have things like conveyance tax and lawyers and all that stuff. So first of all, nobody's selling a house for just 5% closing costs. But we don't get into that. We don't need to anymore. I will do this deal if you give me a 5% discount. Just like the realtor. Why have the resistance of trying to make a deal when you need inventory to present to your buyers? The more inventory, the more you can attract buyers, and the more you can attract buyers, the more you can build your business. You need to have, do you think Walmart could survive if there was not 10 million people there on a Saturday afternoon? Do you think Amazon could survive if you went on Amazon.com and there was no pages to present you for all the crap they sell? Why do you think your business should be any different than theirs? Why do you think they're a multi Walmart? Well, let's put it this way. Costco, I read, I think last year did $83 billion, and they were second behind Walmart. The only reason why Costco's made $83 billion is because they have shelves and inventory. That you go there, and I promise you, if you've ever been in Costco's or BJ's or any of the wholesale clubs, I promise you that you will not leave without spending more than what you intended. Because you're going to see something on a shelf and you're going to want it.
Right. It's not like 2 servings. It's like 40 servings.
Right.
You can keep it for a long time. So in the long run, it's economical in a way, but they're making money and you're saving money. You just got to eat all the stuff you buy before the bag goes bad. Yeah. So you know, my takeaway on this, and this is a month or 3 ago, we've been working this over. My takeaway on this is we don't have to worry at the very beginning of the deal to have it set up perfectly to work, because that denies us the opportunity to get the house on paper. Right. So we say yes, and we can change the numbers if something doesn't work out. When the buyers show up and they tell us the real numbers, we're not stuck with the numbers on the option because it's an option.
The seller says yes, no, or adjust the offer.
Yeah. So we spend too much time arguing like, oh, we can't do that because I think. Forget it. Just say yes. And then if it has to adjust later, you adjust later. But you're in with a merchant, with inventory and a seller and buyers. You're in the business.
Exactly.
You didn't buy the house. You didn't buy the house and get stuck with overpaying. It's still $100 option.
Do you think that Walmart pays for all that inventory they have in those stores?
I thought so, but you just told me recently. How does it actually work?
People come in and will put their inventory there for the opportunity to sell it because they have buyers.
Yeah.
Why do you think on the internet there's such a thing as affiliate marketers? Because you have a geek that set up a new piece of software, knows all about software, but doesn't know how to market it. Right? The wealth in today's world in the early 2000s is 2024 right now. Mm-hmm. The wealth used to be in resources like fuel and oil, and then the middle of the century it became production. Mm-hmm. The wealth that is built right now, the multi-millionaires and billionaires are the guys that know how to distribute the product. This is where this idea came from. Economics 101, how to distribute a product.
Yeah.
All right, so now get this hair-raising one idea. I'm giving you another one. We use an option only, no lease attached to it, which means we are now a part owner with a very minute equity share and don't need a license. right?
Mm-hmm.
The law says if you're a part owner, if you have an equity share for $1 and you're part owner, you could sell the house as an owner.
Yeah.
So with an option agreement, it automatically does that, and you don't need to have a license, which opens up a whole nother podcast, which I will do later, on all these realtors that are crashing because of NAR, the National Association of Realtors. They could do what I'm talking about right now with all the information they have and make more money because they don't have to share it with their brokers. They don't have to be licensed, and they don't have to stay within their state. They can go across state lines and do all this virtually. So realtors can turn to what I'm about to say and make more money than they were making with realtors doing the same amount of deals. Okay, so we use an option agreement. We satisfy our all-cash seller's greed by saying, I will sell it for that amount of money if you give me a 5% discount, which they would pay a realtor, or they would pay more than that in closing costs anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is what is common in the business. Now watch how alarming and simple this easy peasy strategy is. House is worth $400,000. You get a 5% discount, that equals 20 grand. Now, don't get greedy and try to sell it for $400,000 because it won't work unless you're in a completely insanely hot area, which I would not rely on. Instead of selling it for the $400K, do this. So just to be clear on the numbers, let's do the head math.
Mm-hmm.
Seller's asking $400,000. It's worth $400,000. It's market value. It's a pretty house in a good neighborhood. It's all the boxes are checked.
Mm-hmm.
They give you a 5% discount. You write the option agreement for $380,000. You decide you want to make $5 grand. Don't get greedy. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute, because the punchline for this podcast has not even come close yet.
Huh.
Because when I tell you the punchline of this podcast, you're going to scratch your head and you're going to think, holy crap. Because I'm going to tell you the number one reason why all investors fail. I haven't even gotten there yet. You sell this house for $385,000. You put $5,000 on top of your option and consideration deposit. Mm-hmm. You give the seller $1 or $10 or $100. I give them $100 for the option agreement. You then go list it on all these websites, not list it, but put it on all these websites for $385,000. The seller wins because they're getting their house sold. The buyer wins because they're paying a $15,000 discount. They get a $15,000 discount, and you win because you're making $5,000 within 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And in some markets, when I have students do this, they actually get bidding wars, and it goes up over 40,000, over 400,000.
Yeah.
This is how you get free inventory, just like the realtor does. You just sign an option agreement and stack them. Now, let's say your pipeline has 5 of these in your pipeline, and you're in Creative REI Replay, and Creative REI Replay is doing all the work for you. The sellers are calling in and they're asking questions, and the robots are answering them, and all you're doing, they're going to look at the houses. We let them in the houses. We do all this stuff automatically. You set it up. It takes about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So you got 5 houses going. So hell, we just hired a virtual assistant, which we don't have to, but because we need more volume, or because we want them to take care of the volume, we actually have too much volume. Mm. And they can do this work for you. Right? But my point is in the beginning, you do it all. All you're doing is going in looking for your money. Who's got my money today? You log into Creative REI Replay and say, who's got my money today? And if you've got 5 or 7 or 10 or 12 or 15 in the pipeline, do you think you can make consistent money month after month if you keep just loading them up with these types of deals? Just like a realtor signing MLS agreements? Okay, my last point for today. Mm-hmm. Why do real estate people not make money? Why do they fail? I talked about this 2 podcasts ago. I think it was on 424, podcast 424 or 425. I don't remember which one. Here's the mistake I make, you make, we all make. We skip a step, the most vital step in real estate. We jump over it like it's not even there and it's invisible. When you decide where you want to do business, we call it the farm market, right? You remember what that means?
Focus area research market.
Good, Peter.
Whew.
Right? Farm market is where you're going to go test, not invest. We don't do that anywhere. Nobody teaches us test, don't invest. I've never heard that in 30 plus years. I've been 40 years been watching real estate, listening to real. I first started. We got cassette tapes.
Yep.
Right. And a course pack with checklists and stuff to read. It was not easy to study back then. Now you listen to podcasts like this while you're working, and you're not even paying attention to me right now because things are going over your head because you're too busy doing something else. Right? You skip this section. Test, don't invest. Which means go anywhere, like across state lines, and do these non-committal commission type deals to do your research. If you're in Connecticut and want to do deals in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, you don't go there and do subject to deals and get deeds. You just do these option deals or slot deals, which means you're only getting money now. There's no money monthly and no money later, but you pick up checks for $5,000 or $10,000. While you're learning your farm market, while you're learning what's in that market, you have to test, not invest. And you need to learn how much buyers will pay for property in that area. You need to learn where to do deals and not do deals. You do them on the east side, not on the west side. You do them downtown, not in the suburbs. Oh, don't go anywhere near Transocula Lane. Oh, my God. Somebody got murdered over there. Cops go there every single day. Right? Your buyers are going to tell you this when you're presenting them houses. You're also going to learn how to find boots on the ground. You're going to find people that will work for you because things will come up. Oh, yeah, by the way, does the seller own this house or not?
He does, right?
Yeah, of course they do.
It's an option.
So do you think they might know an electrician or where to go get an electrician?
Oh.
Do you think a buyer might be that way? So if I get my seller to reduce their price by $7,000 because it needs an electrical panel, who would you hire? When you're talking to your buyer. And you make a list of all these things as you're going along. Right? Oh, yeah, by the way, you're going to learn in that state how to do closings. Is it an escrow company? Is it with attorneys? How does it happen? How much does it cost? Because you're going to watch the whole transaction. You're asking me, my listener, to look over my shoulder and watch me do deals. Why? You could do your own deals with no commitment on a house that you got on consignment. And the worst that can happen is you screw it up and the seller's pissed off at you. So what? You'll never see them again. They're 1,400 miles away from you. You're definitely going to find out what's hot, what's not. You're going to know that area. You're going to know that Amazon is coming in and putting in, like we have in New Britain, putting in a battery station, right? In New Britain, you found that out when we were trying to sell it, when we were trying to do properties, right? In New Britain, Connecticut, by Stanley Tools, that's no longer there, they bought that building to put batteries in the building, the entire building, tens of thousands of square feet to put batteries in,
Mhm.
so that they can run their computers around the corner in case the electricity goes out. And we learned that because we had a property that we were selling and people were worried about the batteries and the acid and all that kind of stuff. You learn these things.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you've done a few of these deals and you feel comfortable because you know a lot more and now have experience with these consignment deals, you got paid to learn. You didn't need to pay $30,000 for coaching. You made $30,000 for coaching,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now you start to invest. Now you start getting, which by the way, the difference is the deals we're talking about, the option deals and the slot deals are just, Nelson Rockefeller said, own nothing, control everything. You're just controlling the property. You're controlling the property with paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
We call it a FRED deal, flipping real estate documents. It's not like the realtors. The realtor is a FREP, flipping real estate property. We're not flipping property. We're flipping the paperwork that controls the property.
Mm-hmm.
And we're testing, not investing. So now, when you've got your team in place and you feel like you know the market value, when that deal falls in your lap, that subject to deal, and you have to put a deed in your name, now you're confident. You know that you have resources. You know how to find a handyman. You know how you have a boots on the ground. You have people that will help you. Right? Now you can do an owner finance deal or a land contract or a wraparound mortgage, because now you're ready to stay there and hold and make money now, money monthly, and money later.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest, fearsome, daunting, terrifying, scariest thing about creative real estate is everyone, like 100% of all, want to do deals in their backyard. And that means within driving distance, so they can see the deal and how it works. In case something goes wrong, they can notice it. And like that's going to make any difference. Right? Like they can change it because all of a sudden they miss something. But, and this is a big, huge but, most of the time their backyard is a menacing, overpriced, sucky, stupid market, and they don't get deals. They're holding their life back. They're holding their financial life back, their financial freedom, and everything they ever dreamed of, because they're stuck with this fixed idea that I got to be at arm's length on my deal, and I got to go look at it. I got to drive by it. I got to go make sure. I got to see it. Because they borrowed money or they're stuck in the deal and they're worried about the legal ramifications because they structured the deal wrong. They didn't test before they invest. They didn't test the market by getting consignment deals and trying to sell them to buyers that are going to pay them and give them all their due diligence and tell them what the house is worth, all their comps. It's like you're sitting in the living room of this house and you're just writing notes. And you never leave your desk. I said in last in 2 podcasts ago, let your phone do all the driving for you. Let your phone drive around neighborhoods and do your due diligence. You're just not asking enough questions. Hey, Mr. Seller, do you know a handyman special around? You know somebody who does handiwork? Hey, Mr. Seller, who cuts the lawns in your neighborhood? Hey, Mr. Seller, you know a realtor that might want, a new realtor coming up through the ranks that might want to help me with this house? For a commission? You know a property manager in the area? Do you know somebody that does babysitting and looking for a side job? You know any college kids that might want to do this with me? You know any soccer moms that like put their kids on the bus in the morning and have 3-4 hours a day they might want to help me? Oh, yeah, by the way, it's in the seller's interest to give you these things because you're going to sell his house and give him what he wants. He's going to go to work for you because nobody else is giving him what you're giving him. Only a 5% discount. Because I guarantee he was planning on spending more than 5%, and he inflated the price anyways to compensate for that 5%.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
That's one idea to think about now, isn't it?
Well, hell yeah.
That's one idea that will change your financial future and your freedom, won't it? Question is, will you act on it?
Mm-hmm.
Just to make sure, I put a link inside the chat, inside of the description, of a video you should watch on extensive training on how to do these options and how to do the paperwork and how to do all of this. There's a link inside of the description. You should go watch it. It's for free. But beware, if you want to learn all that stuff, it's not a 15-minute video. It's a couple hours. You're going to get a lot of information. Beware. Test. Don't invest by getting properties on consignment and knowing what buyers pay, and you make yourself rich. And we do this by presenting unsold properties to buyers so they can find you and pay you. Why are you looking for your money? Why don't you just attract it and let it come to you? You want money? Create a magnet that attracts money. And having a house either on a discount, a 5% discount, so they can save $15,000 on a $300,000 house or a $400,000 house. Have a discount of 5% and don't try to steal it all or get it all. Just take a little bit for doing the deal quick and do a lot of them. Or have a slot deal where they can come and they can live in the house for 3 years with a 5% down payment and you help them get qualified for a loan and cash it out later. Do you think those are pretty good magnets? Do you think if you have enough of these properties for sale in enough places that people will find you and throw their money at you? Why are you looking for money? Let money find you. I've said my piece, Peter. I just crawled down off of my soapbox. Is there anything you'd like to say? Because I didn't let you talk too much today. Anything you'd like to say before we leave?
No, I think we're good. My takeaway, which would change, I said it before, but you have to think about this. A realtor goes, sees somebody, and they say, I want this much for the house. They go, okay. And they just do it. We get on the phone. Well, I think the comp, blah, blah, I can't because, and I'm here, blah, blah. Okay, no, thank you. And you hang up the phone. That's not the way to do it. Just say yes, and things will even out because you're not committed on an option. You're not committed. You're not buying it. You're not committed to the number.
Definition of an option is you had the right to buy without an obligation.
Right. And you're not even stuck on the number. Like the realtor, they come back 3 weeks later and they change the number. We do the same thing. It could go up, it could go down.
Yeah.
So it just opens the door to just get the inventory and put it out there.
Test, don't invest. And then get really good in a market, in a certain neighborhood, in a certain city, in a certain whatever, and just go there now and invest now that you've tested. We skipped that. All these years, we've never talked about it because I didn't realize that we needed to do that. In virtual deals, I'm going to tell you right now, the middle of the country, Midwest, is the best place in the world to do it. The two coasts are the hardest place to buy and sell property.
Yeah.
If you're on the coast, East Coast, West Coast, look at the prices. They're insane. Why is that? Well, there's water on them. People like water.
Well, that's how they get there first. A boat lands and they can't get too far. They get off the boat. No, really. My family got here on boats from Europe, and they hit New York. They go, how much money we got? They made it to Connecticut. Some make it to Boston. Some stayed in New York. The other ones wound up in California. There was gold or whatever. But yeah.
I used to have a couple guys working for me when I owned my gas station that were from Maine, and I used to tease them all the time. I said, "You know why you're here, right?" He goes, "What do you mean?" He was a kind of a rough guy. He was a good guy, but he was a rough guy. "What do you mean?" I said, "You came from Maine, right?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "You know why you're in Connecticut? You're in Wallingford, Connecticut?" Well, and he'll start. I'm like, "No, don't tell me the truth. This is how far you could get on one tank of gas, and that's why you're here."
I knew you were going to say that.
Right?
That's so, yeah, it's cute.
And that's what you're talking about.
Sure,
All right, good.
yeah.
Bad joke. Enough for today. So make sure you go hit the link in the description because I have a video full of training for you in there, and I'm going to expound on everything I talked about today. Today I talked about what you should do. In the video, I'm going to show you how to do it. So go check it out. Okay. Make sure you subscribe to us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. Make sure you like us. Make sure you leave a review. And if you need anything from us or have questions, just go to flippinghousesforrookies.com, hit the support link, or go to creativereireply.com, hit the support link, and one of us, probably me, or if you got a question for Peter or whoever, will help you. Okay? Thank you again. Flourish and prosper. And I hope I rattled you today to have that one idea that will change your life. Have a good week.